Hello everybody. In this video, we'll try to understand what happens when Jupiter is present in Shravana nakshatra. In Vedic astrology, Jupiter, that is Guru, represents wisdom, knowledge, and expansion. Jupiter expands whatever energy it touches, and Jupiter expands the significations of the house it is sitting in. And Jupiter also represents the righteousness and ethics. If your Jupiter has a very good dignity in your horoscope, then you would have a very good teaching and guidance abilities. And Jupiter also represents philosophy, growth, and prosperity. If Jupiter is functionally benefic, then it can give you a lot of luck and blessings. So that is the fundamental energy of Jupiter. Then what is the fundamental energy of Shravana nakshatra? Shravana nakshatra is represented with ear, nothing but listening and learning. This is the fundamental energy of Shravana. As a listening, learning, observing. This is the whole energy of Shravana nakshatra, and the deity of Shravana is Lord Vishnu. Whenever you talk about Shravana nakshatra, you have to talk more about listening, more about observing, absorbing, learning, right? Because that is the behavior of ear. So the fundamental theme of Shravana is learning and also internalizing the things and spreading the knowledge, because once you are able to absorb whatever you are observing, and once you learn and get lots of knowledge, a final thing is you are going to deliver that knowledge to someone at some point of time in your life. But most of the time in your life, you would be learning, observing and absorbing, right? So Shravana is basically a listener energy. It talks about listening. It talks about learning. When somebody is listening, he tries to learn also. Because if you keep on listening something, one day you also try to repeat, try to learn. So when you try to learn, then that knowledge is within you. So you are basically preserving that knowledge, right? So when you're listening, you will try to learn. When you learn, you will have that knowledge. So basically, you are storing that knowledge in you. So that is observation. So basically, Shravana energy represents the listening, learning, and preserving the knowledge energy. Now, when Jupiter is sitting in Shravana nakshatra, Jupiter is a kind of a teacher, a natural teaching abilities he has. And he is sitting in a chair where listening happens more, then it creates a kind of learning loop, because the teacher is listening deeply and trying to understand the truth, thereby, of course, preserving the knowledge. And finally, as he is a teacher, because Jupiter is a teacher, what is the duty of teacher? He has to convey this information to somebody, right? So as Jupiter is a teacher and he is sitting in a position of deep listening, thereby he tries to listen and understand, and finally he understands that knowledge. But as he is a teacher, Jupiter is a teacher, he is not just limiting this energy just to preserve, but also to teach. If it is not Jupiter, then that is only ending with preserving the knowledge. But here is a Jupiter, so he has to express whatever he stored, whatever he preserved, whatever knowledge he preserved. So basically, when you see the fundamental nature of this particular learning loop, this is one of the best placements for knowledge transmission, right? So I would say this is a knowledge transmitter. Jupiter in Shravana is a knowledge transmitter, because this Jupiter sitting in Shravana is listening, keep on listening, and finally, as is a teacher, as a Jupiter is a teacher, he is delivering. So something, some energy point where it is receiving the energy and then transmitting, that is a very good transmitter basically, right? So when Jupiter is in Shravana, the person becomes a deep listener. He learns more by listening than speaking. He absorbs subtle meanings, also strong memory for teachings. Because when somebody is listening every day, if you're listening to a song every day, then what happens? One day you will start singing. That means it is stored within you. So the person would be very knowledge oriented. He is interested in scriptures, philosophy, spiritual knowledge and traditional systems. I can say Jupiter and then Shravana is moon's energy. Basically the planetary ruler of Shravana is moon. So it's a very soft energy. I feel the person is also a soft teacher. He teaches very calmly. So not aggressive or dominating at all. There is no aggressive energy, no dominating energy in Jupiter in Shravana. So this particular teacher gains respect through wisdom, not by force at any cost. So such people often become very good mentors, advisors, spiritual guides and consultants. A very soft energy I feel here. And Shravana is ruled by Lord Vishnu, as we discussed just now. So there is a strong connection to dharma and preservation, because if you observe our Puranas, Lord Vishnu takes birth to preserve dharma. If dharma is going, a bit going in a wrong direction, he takes birth and he preserves dharma. So this particular person, Jupiter in Shravana, may have some inclination towards bhakti, that is devotion, also listening to scriptures. So the person can follow paths like Vedanta or traditional teachings, or a kind of Guru Shishya Parampara, we say, right? That kind of feeling one can get by seeing this. Because Guru Shishya Parampara, because it's something like you're transmitting knowledge, right, from one person to another, because you're listening to somebody and finally you're transmitting to somebody. Because Shravana is about listening and Jupiter is about teaching. So listening, preserving and teaching. So there's a kind of Guru Shishya Parampara only, right? So it's a listening to truth is the fundamental thing, because it's always about Lord Vishnu energy, and then Shravana is listening. What the person can listen, it's listening to some kind of truth and finally passing it on. So I can see if this Jupiter does not have any kind of affliction, that is, if this Jupiter is not sitting on Rahu Ketu axis. So when a planet is sitting on Rahu Ketu axis, we say that planet is afflicted. And whenever a planet is watched by Saturn or Mars, it gets some maleficity. See, irrespective of whether Saturn and Mars are functionally benefic or malefic to your ascendant, the aspects of Saturn and Mars are always treated as malefic. So if this particular Jupiter in Shravana does not have affliction due to Rahu Ketu axis, or does not have any maleficity due to Saturn or Mars aspect, then that Jupiter is here, is a kind of comfortable Jupiter. A Jupiter expressing in Shravana, Jupiter in Shravana is able to express much better. It's a true Jupiter, kind of a bit strong Jupiter, I can say. So such a Jupiter has some kind of excellent learning ability. So The Jupiter can grasp concepts deeply, learns from teachers, elders, and by experience. Also, I can say this Jupiter in Shravana is something like wisdom through observation. It doesn't rush at all, understands before acting, and respect in society also I can see, because people trust their advice. They are seen as wise and balanced. So there is a kind of strong communication also I can observe here. It's not loud but impactful. So the words of this particular Jupiter in Shravana can carry some weight. So if this Jupiter is not afflicted due to Rahu Ketu axis, or if it is not having any malefic impact due to Saturn or Mars aspect, then I can say that is a good Jupiter. But if it has some affliction or maleficity, then that is a negative Jupiter. So such a negative Jupiter is a kind of abnormal Jupiter. So the negatives of that Jupiter which is having affliction or maleficity is over listening and underacting, because it's more listening energy. Listening. See, may keep on learning but delay execution. Somebody who is always listening and trying to, deliver the same kind of, right? It's not it's underacting, no acting at all, only listening happening, right? And then it's a kind of dependency on guidance. So for everything the person has to listen to something. So he might rely too much on teachers or systems. Person has to listen to somebody, then only he can replicate, otherwise he may not be able to. Such an energy. And then a kind of traditional rigidity I can observe can become too conservative, because it's something like only listening happening, right? That's a kind of abnormal listening to something and not acting, or listening to something and trying to replicate the same thing. And even in the traditions, they try to just follow the tradition and don't know the meaning at all. They don't know anything at all about the tradition. Just, they follow that tradition only. They don't know why they're following, what is the tradition, what is the meaning of the tradition, nothing they know. Kind of information overload, if it is abnormal or having some maleficity. It collects knowledge but may not apply it, because somebody is only listening to something but not applying anything. So there's no action at all. It's only listening happening here, right? And if the Jupiter is having some kind of affliction or maleficity, then this is the problem. So if this Jupiter does not have any affliction or maleficity, a very good Jupiter, then that Jupiter can become a very good teacher or professor or a trainer or a coach or spiritual guide or a public speaker or a podcaster or a kind of consultant or policy advisor. So, or he can work in some religious or philosophical institutions. So that is what I can see about this particular placement, and this is it. This is showing some kind of a very, even the Jupiter is very good. It's something like a very good listener and a very good teacher, a wise personality or a respected personality, kind of having some teaching ability, very strong dharma or guru like personality, or career in teaching or advisory roles. So this is the whole energy we can feel with this, right? The kind of lifelong listener, lifelong learner, a wise listener or a calm teacher, so, or a preserver of knowledge and tradition. So this is a very, very cool placement I can say. There's no aggressiveness I can see here, no aggressiveness, nothing, right? And kind of learn deeply whatever is taught to you, learn deeply, listen to it deeply, and learn it wisely and try to transmit to others, teach that to others. Such kind of very cool placement I can see here. So other than that, we cannot say much about this placement, right? There's the overall energy of this placement. It's a good placement, nice. We cannot say it's a bad placement at all. Kind of okay, good, okay, right? That is the whole energy I feel with this. Not a very strong energy or a very kind of bad energy also I cannot say. If it is abnormal due to some kind of affliction or malefic aspect, then it's a kind of somebody is not is listening and trying to repeat, and if he wants to repeat he has to listen to it before, kind of, right? So that is the whole thing. A soft energy, lower levels of intensity kind of energy only we can observe here. Thanks for watching this video.